James, what else do you have to add to this conversation?
Well, I think, Evelyn's point is such a good one, right? And, and some people may be aware, and to put this into bigger context too, right, about the history in America with slavery and with the continued, treatment of African Americans, right, and Black people in general, regardless of nationality, right? So everyone's familiar with the 13th Amendment, right? But there was an exception that's in the 13th Amendment, right, for prison labor. And for many, many years, right, post Civil War, there were known as the Black Codes in the South primarily, but all over the country, where innocent Black men were arrested on frivolous charges and essentially sold back into slavery for decades and decades post, Reconstruction, right? And to this day, still in America, there is slave labor in our prisons. A lot of people don't know that. And so, we haven't fully, washed our hands of slavery in this country. And I think that's a really important point. And the other thing that I want to highlight is that, internationally, when we look at, the Palermo Protocol and how human trafficking is looked at more broadly, there's another element of labor trafficking that oftentimes gets brought up. And that's usually in the context of forced, quote unquote, forced criminality or child soldiers, oftentimes we refer to them, right? And a lot of people in America oftentimes think about, oh, kids who are kidnapped and forced into, armies in Africa. But the reality is, we have child soldiers here in America. We have kids who were recruited into gangs, street gangs, where we're talking about 10, 11, 12-year-old children, where their gang leaders are 25, 26, 27-year-old men, right? But they are not identified. And this, in my mind, this is one of the biggest failures of the anti-trafficking movement and the anti-trafficking community over the last 20 years, is the failure to adequately identify children who are exploited in gangs and forced into criminality as victims of human trafficking. And there's a much larger conversation, but to Evelyn's point, right, that is wrapped up in race, that is wrapped up in nationality. In the 1990s, there was this whole effort to label mostly Black children as quote unquote super predators, right? And when we did that, we removed the spectrum of their own victimization and the recognition of a lot of kids in the inner city who are exploited in these situations as victims of actual human trafficking and our own version of child soldiers. And so I just wanted to, I thought Evelyn's point was a great one.